What's going on, everybody? John Ramdeen and Robin Black here in downtown Toronto. The UFC's 205-pound division continues to grow and continues to be interesting for so many reasons. Volkan Oezdemir taking on Misha Cirkunov.
You just pull out the old...
Yeah, the Volkan.
Oh, okay,
that's
cool.
Spock, right?
Oh, cool. I'm sure he doesn't ever get stuff like that said to him, ever.
The thing about Misha is we've heard his name for a long time. Used to work at Extreme Couture. Misha Cirkunov coaches there. We knew judo, jiu-jitsu expert. We all wondered, what happens when this guy goes to the UFC? Because his striking does not seem to be on par with the rest of his abilities. However, he's passed with flying
much
colors.
improved.
Everybody is talking about this guy right now. Is he the next guy at 205 pounds? We all know right now, 205 pounds, you got the champion, Daniel Cormier. You have the former champion, John Jones, and Daniel Cormier is no spring chicken, so who knows? He could be out of the game soon.
I'm going to be saying this all the way through. Win or lose, I think Dan's going to go.
Right.
He's either going to retire the champion, avenging his only loss, or he's going to say, I was the second best in my era. And that's okay, I believe. That's my belief.
Alexander Gustafsson, he's going to be taking on Teixeira. Again, Teixeira closer to 40 than he is 30. Jimmy Manawa, also closer to 40 than he is 30. Misha Cirkunov. Is this a guy that people should be banking on?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen him. It's been a fascinating thing to be close. Now, if you're from Toronto, in particular Canada in general, you've been able to see this martial artist develop. And we saw him dominate in jiu-jitsu, and he wouldn't always compete. He'd step off the couch, roll into something, and then blow people's minds in there. And it was always amazing. And along the way, he would roll with guys like Randy and roll and with Babalu and people like that to be able to see, oh man, the grappling is there. And then he's a physical specimen. And when that's the case, sometimes you compartmentalize those tools. So he would start to build the striking in different ways. The interesting thing about him is he's never really built the fundamentals. So that can be a great advantage. And it has been when he's been fighting, because he does things that most people don't do. So our friend Elias Theodoro, people will watch him and go, oh, what the hell is going on with that? But he's doing things most people don't do, is what's happening. And Misha does the same.
And he wins fights.
And he wins fights. Misha does the same thing. And that can be an advantage. Now, it can also be a disadvantage, because there are times where the fundamental building blocks, being great at the basics, having a true, really crisp jab that works, reacting in ways that will keep yourself protected in moments. All of those
slips and counters and all those things.
The true fundamentals. When you watch him, he's been built outside of that. So it makes him unique. It makes him interesting. But when he loses, it will be because of those things. Now, is Oezdemir the guy to be able to exploit that? I don't know. Henry and Evan and that team where he's trained a lot say that he's a hard worker and he's driven. And you saw him against OSP. It took a lot of guts and heart to win that fight. What is interesting from Oezdemir's perspective is OSP is one of those guys too. OSP's fundamentals are weaker than his ability to fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you think of OSP, you don't think of basics. You don't think of rude, like ornery, harsh, outstanding basics.
It looks like the guy spent a little bit of time here, a little bit of time there to go in and to be able to do his thing.
Exactly. So Oezdemir has fought somebody who has been built outside of the lines before. Misha's different though, because it wasn't till later in there when OSP started to realize, hey, normally I break these guys' rhythms. Normally these guys can't figure me out. Normally out in this space, I'm able to, I better start wrestling. Misha, I think, because he's smart, he's been able to fight very calmly his last couple of fights, I think he'll look to get this locked up and put down earlier than OSP did, and I think he'll be able to. If you're Oezdemir, you want your basics of this fight can be somewhat simple. Keep your hips far away from this guy. Make him come forward and hit him whenever he does, and be fundamental base. Jabs and low kicks that don't get caught. Crisp 1-2s down the pipe. Misha, again, like OSP, it's against the advice of many schooled trainers as they develop bigger men. Misha will walk through the stances. He will, and it's not even really switched he ultimately switches his stance, but he'll walk through from stance to stance. And that's something OSP did. So it's something that Oezdemir has faced before. But at the same time, when Misha will win by punching people, striking with them, or using his striking to get to the cage or to get to wrestling, it will be because he's different. If and when he loses, and everybody ultimately loses, it will be for the same reason. It will be that somebody will exploit his weakness with his fundamentals.
And when you look at 205 pounds and you look at, okay, as you mentioned, you know, jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu, boxing or striking with your hands, that's something completely different. You have to work on that to be good. When you look at the 205-pound division, clearly John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Jimmy Manuwa, Teixeira, and maybe Alexander Gustafsson. Those guys maybe possess those abilities that could give Misha an issue. Who are the other people? Are there anybody else that Misha should be concerned about? Or does he play, when he's facing those guys, does he just take the approach that, well, I know they're better than me in that department. I'm just not going to play that game.
It depends. It depends on it's long-term philosophical thinking. Do you really want to become one of the great strikers in your division? If so,
is there time to be, though?
Yeah. I mean, I want to be, if I'm any fighter, I want to be great at what I want to be great at 3 years from now. If I'm working that way, I'll be better 3 months from now as well, but it's 3 years from now where if I'm going to get to the top, I will be undeniably better than all these men. I can beat Jimmy Manuwa on the feet. That's hard to do, but the way to do it is to go take some steps back and build your fundamentals. It's never too late to build your fundamentals. But sometimes people will get away from that and they'll create an environment in which they're able to do the odd things that they do and it always works until the day that it doesn't. The fight, if Misha wins this fight, and I think there's a lot of good reasons that he can, including his greatest strength of all that he has developed over his last number of fights. He's calm in there. He's calm and he's able to approach, he has got himself to the point where he approaches a fight as a contest, the same way that he approached a judo match and a jiu-jitsu match. The fact that this man is dangerous, they've all been dangerous. Competition is dangerous, but Misha's been very calm, and I think that'll be the key to him winning this fight. And then after that, we all want to see, and I think the UFC would want to see, and I think Misha would want, you fight a guy like Manuwa. Where am I at his level striking yet? No, but can I hang there long enough to get him where he's not at my level? Yeah, and if you could beat this man, then you could beat a Jimmy Manuwa. You really can fight Gustafsson. You really can fight Jones. You know, you really can. That's the path that you want to take. And, you know, it would be cool to see. This is a very, very winnable fight for Misha. It's a winnable fight for Oezdemir, too. He has a path to victory. Keep your hips far away from this man. Understand that he's going to calmly close distance and execute smoothly and just surgically. Understand that and be aware of it and take your time. Try to win this fight in round 3 and then win round 2 and win round 3 and don't get too hurt in round 1 and don't end up on your back. But it's hard to win those fights. It's hard to win like that. Misha's a monster.
Will Misha Cirkunov emerge as the next big thing to come out of Canada?